This week we're bringing you a bonus episode from a listener request. I hope you enjoy it. It's May 30th, 1431. A young woman, no more than 19 years old, stands before a crowd in Rouen, France. Her fate is sealed. Flames will rise and history will remember her name, Joan of Arc. Her story is one of war, faith, defiance, and above all, hope. She led armies into battle, driven by a vision of a future she wouldn't live to see. As she stood at the stake, it said that her last words were calling upon God. Hope, it seems, is often strongest in our darkest moments. Hope, that simple four-letter word, carries the weight of human endurance, of faith, of ambition. It's a word whispered in desperate prayer, painted across protest signs, and splashed on political slogans. Hope is what we cling to when everything else is gone. But what does it really mean? And more importantly, where did it come from? Today we're going to unpack this word, its history, its cultural reach, and even its unexpected ties to a small town in Arkansas and a 1998 Sandra Bullock film. Welcome to Lexicon, where words come to get a reality check. I'm TJ, your guide through this linguistic labyrinth, and today we're putting hope to the test. Before we dive into the history of hope, let's take a moment to appreciate just how much weight this word carries in our collective imagination. Think of Emily Dickinson's famous poem, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul," or Martin Luther King Jr.'s unwavering belief that we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. And of course, there was Barack Obama's 2008 campaign where hope wasn't just a slogan, it became a movement. In pop culture, we see it time and again, whether it's Andy Dufresne writing "Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things" in The Shawshank Redemption, or Princess Leia recording her message, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." Yet for all its warmth and positivity, hope has been wielded as a tool of control just as often as it's been a source of strength. Think of the phrase false hope. Throughout history, leaders, institutions, and even captors have offered hope as a means of pacification. That dangling carrot that keeps people compliant, believing that salvation is just around the corner if only they wait a little longer. Hope, it seems, is the last thing to leave us. So, let's see where it all began. The word hope traces its lineage back to the Old English hopa, meaning confidence in the future. Unlike its Latin counterpart, spes, which often tied hope to a divine favor, our English hope was grounded in a more practical optimism, a belief not just in fate, but in possibility. The word hopa, in turn, is believed to have Proto-Germanic roots, hopona, which carried similar connotations of expectation and trust. And you can find cousins of the word hope in languages like Dutch, where it's pronounced the same but spelled H-O-O-P, or hoop, and the German Hoffnung, where they both express that same blend of desire and belief in good outcomes. But the concept of hope is much older than the English language. The oldest known word for hope comes from the ancient Greeks, the word elpis, which embodied both hope and expectation. Now, elpis to the ancient Greeks was also the name of a minor goddess, who is often depicted as a young woman carrying flowers or a cornucopia. Interestingly, in classic Greek literature, elpis could be used to refer to an expectation of the future either positive or negative. According to the story of Pandora's box, which, let's be honest, was actually a jar, bad translation, long story, when Pandora opened it, all the evils of the world escaped, and elpis, or hope, was the one thing left inside. Now some argue that this was a blessing, a final gift to humanity. Others say it was the cruelest trick of all, the one thing that kept us expecting change even when it would never come. In the Christian Bible, the Greek word elpis is used to refer to the thing hoped for, as well as the author of hope and the foundation of hope. In the New Testament, the word elpis, which is later translated to hope, appears 53 times. This biblical repetition is likely how hope began being used as a given name during the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century. Hope emerged as a virtue name alongside names like faith and charity, representing the three theological virtues. Fast forward a few centuries, and we find hope woven into the fabric of pop culture and politics in all sorts of ways. For example, Hope, Arkansas, population of roughly 10,000, best known as the birthplace of the 42nd President of the United States, Bill Clinton. In his 1992 campaign, Clinton famously said, "I still believe in a place called Hope." And you have to admit that's some A-plus political branding. That phrase turned an obscure small town into a metaphor for the American dream.
My fellow Americans, I end tonight where it all began for me. I still believe in a place called Hope. God bless you, and God bless America.
Brilliant marketing. And speaking of branding, let's talk about Hope Floats, that 1998 romantic drama starring Sandra Bullock and Harry Connick Jr. It's one of those movies that probably aired on cable every weekend in the early 2000s. The title itself is a bit of a paradox. Hope, this intangible, often weightless thing, somehow managing to float above life's rough waters. Well, spoiler alert. The movie follows a woman picking up the pieces after enduring the humiliation of finding out that her husband has been having an affair with her best friend on national television. No, they weren't having the affair on national television. She found out on national television, just for clarity. But through it all, she is resolved to rebuild her life and do the best she can for her and her daughter. And if that's not an allegory for how hope operates, I don't know what is. Hope isn't just an English-speaking affair either. In Spanish, esperanza means both hope and expectation, blurring that line between optimism and the anticipation of what's to come. In Japanese, the word kibo means hope, but it also carries a slightly different nuance. It's often used under the context of future ambitions or society-wide aspirations. Across languages and cultures, hope isn't just a feeling. It's a force that shapes how we look at the future. Oh, and fun fact, the Japanese experiment module on the International Space Station is named Kibo, for the hope of scientific advancement. So, what do we know? Well, we know that the English word hope has Proto-Germanic roots, and at one time had separate pronunciations for the verb and noun versions. But the essence of hope is far older, with the written concept originating in ancient Greece, although I suspect the feeling is as old as time. Hope is universal, but it's also deeply personal. It's the thing that gets us out of bed on a Monday, keeps us glued to our underdog sports stories, and makes us believe that the next time we bake cookies, we won't burn them. Hope, as fragile as it can be, has this incredible resilience, and that's why, centuries after it entered our language, it remains one of the most powerful words we have. That's all for today's episode of Lexicon. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you learned something today. See what I did there? And special thanks to our listener Tom, who recommended this word. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with friends. And if you have a word or phrase you would like to see unraveled, well, drop us a line. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and yes, keep hoping. As always, Lexicon is written, recorded, and produced by me, your Logophile companion, TJ Martin. Sources and additional credits are in the show notes. Thanks for listening.